Alright, welcome to the next step in going through development in base through the base raw and extraction chapter as a part of the Analytics Engineering in DBT 0 through 100 onboarding tutorial. Let's get started. So in this process, I'm going to be talking about just a little bit about what we would want to do in specification of the base folder, creating these base tables. And then also some particular commands, DBT commands that we would want to use to create our base tables. And again, there'll be some examples for that there as well. And I'll be kind of going through different windows as well. So just kind of bear in mind the change and movement of different folders as well. So let's get started. So in this section, I'll be discussing base layer implementations for our data mart. However, what is a base layer? For me, personally, base layer is the initial landing area of our data warehouse. That's a typo. Let's ignore that. The modeling procedure for our data mart. It's the raw layer for ingesting data in its own purity. For my own preferences, we'll be doing the adoption of the Kimball methodology, or going Kimball methodology, technically speaking, of fact and dimension tables. And then this layer particularly includes the following implementations or design principles that I personally use, which is data type, explicitly defining them, definitions for particular columns, data cleaning, if you want to go about that, column renaming, this is optional, but definitely recommending to be doing as such in the stage layer, and also JSON unpacking as well. That is a feature that is a part of Snowflake. Just keep in mind, depending on whatever cloud data warehouse you're using in this case. And here's just the visual example of the subsequent breakdown of materializing these base tables. And so, let's go into switching to those windows now, or exposing different windows in this use case. So say, right here, I have 3 different types of source specifications. Customers, others, and website particular data from different sources, for example. And we have say several files of these SQL queries, and instead of just doing DBT run for one by one for different queries, how can we do that all collectively, all together? Well, we can do that, say, if we created a tag in our base tables implementation right here, dbt run -- models tag website info. What this would do, what this command line run will do is create every SQL query as a table that had that tag specified in it as such. And then this is the target. Cool. So here we go in the raw schema. Pardon. Great, right here. So in our base table, our base folder, we have a website section right here and particular tag website info. So everything with the tag website info that's specified right here in this run, it's materialized not as a table, but a view. This is something in Snowflake, particularly in all these particular queries right here are instantiated as views, and they all are instantiated as views all together in this one command. Again, this is because they all have that tag specification under this folder in base. And then similarly, we can do the same thing for customer information, which is up here under our base tables. See, running through this query dbt run command line on line is pretty tedious. And so luckily we have this customer info tag to help us out in materializing these views, in this case customer views. We can also add some additional tags as well, so do keep that in mind. So those are some examples right there. And then coming up, I'm going through in the process of explicitly defining data types. So say right here you want to go in the base layer and specify the particular data types in different CTE or whatever your style of the SQL formatting is. You can do that as such. There's a little bit more here in documentation. You can just read that in your own time. But then going on forward, the next thing we'd want to do in our base layer maybe is do some data cleaning as well. So keeping that in mind. Sorry, pardon for reading, but I try to blend in some jokes in here as well. So yeah, feel free to check that in your spare time, those lame jokes particularly. And then column renaming is something we want to specify in our base tables as well. Here's an example. And then lastly, if you are using Snowflake, maybe you want to do JSON unpacking that I specified before, we can do that as well. And so that's pretty much it. There's a lot more dbt commands that one can use besides using the tag functionality. For example, going to this line right here, I shouldn't be doing this in the YAML file, but I'm showing you this example. We could do dbt run -- models with a specified path. So models, I believe, .base run, and that should run everything in our base folder above here as well. So there's a few more commands that we can use to do dbt execution for materializing everything in our base folders in a combination or just some different way. It's up to the creativity of the analyst or data professional yourself to go about and creating materializing your views of the convenience of using dbt and dbt run. Next up, we're going into the staging process of our data model and standing that up, so stay tuned for that. Later on, we'll be going through Mart reporting and some additional items as well on using dbt. So yeah, let's go on to those next steps.